Can you just give us a picture of what is actually happening on the ground in Lebanon in terms of the Israeli incursion, Hezbollah's fighting with, in terms of the human cost, the political cost? Just give us a bit of an overview of the sense of what's happening in Lebanon right now.
Yeah, we've been doing on Thursdays conversations with American Lebanese who have family in the South,
Mm.
and we've also been connecting via Zoom with folks in Lebanon in the South. And uh, the word incursion doesn't quite describe. It's an onslaught. There's been devastation wrought. The 81 villages laid waste and the destruction of the two major cities, Sur, called Tyre, and Nabatea, are really consequential. These are World Heritage sites, both of them, and have long histories. And our cities, 200,000, 100,000 people, they've been evacuated and significant destruction in both. The result is that you have this massive dislocation of population, also destruction of property of folks. We've talked to people whose family homes are gone, whose neighborhoods are gone, who've lost lots of family members. It's devastating, and um, and the consequences will be with us for a while. Partly because not only the physical damage and the psychological damage and the loss of life, but also because of the sectarian nature of this, with Israel saying, we'll let Christians stay, even though they've killed Christians and demolished some of the Christian villages and homes. Um, but also because as the population, which is largely Shia, has moved north, there have been Christian villages who've not allowed them to come in, have not taken them in. There is this uh, divide in Lebanon that's real, that's being exacerbated by this and by the pressure that the government, U.S. government, and Israel is putting on Lebanon. Um, that I think will there's the possibility that we ignite a new civil war, and it is quite disturbing. Those of us who went through that period of the civil war in Lebanon, uh, to see it come back again is really devastating. And the Israelis are trying to provoke it, I believe, um, uh, very seriously trying to provoke it. So the consequences will be real in terms of physical, psychological, and political damage to the country and its people. What is
Jim,
disturbing?
can I just jump in here just
Yeah,
so I to understand? These cities that you're talking about that have been
yeah.
forcibly evacuated, these are in the south of
South. Yeah.
south of the Litani River, where Israel says it wants to kind of establish a buffer zone.
They're in the south, either on the border of the the region around them, like the
Mhm.
suburban area, goes north of and south of the Litani. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, and um, the I mean, Nabatea already was conquered at one point.
Yeah.
I got the headline from one of the papers saying Israel recaptures the Beaufort Castle.
Mhm.
Recaptures. It's like, no, you didn't. You once again invaded I mean, the language has just been disturbing. The U.S. has been quite
Sorry, can I
completely.
just trick one more question about
Yeah.
before we go to the others? So basically, what Israel has said in these two significant cities is basically everybody must leave, or only
Yeah.
the Shia must leave, or the
No, no, no.
Christians and Sunni can
They've
come
been
back.
ordering evacuations of the cities, just like they've done in the southern suburbs of Beirut, just like they've done in Gaza City, like they were doing back then. Um, but they have said, although they haven't yet allowed, they've said Christians can come back at a later point, right? But the Shia they wouldn't allow to come back. That's what they've said. And so as the people have fled north, there are villages that have taken them in, but there are also communities of not very Christian Christians. That's my people, so I can talk about them. Um, have have uh, have not allowed them in, and it we saw the same thing during the Syrian civil war. I mean, look, Lebanon still has a not just the Palestinian refugee community that is somewhat settled for now 70 something years. But they have still Iraqi refugees from that war. They have maybe a million or so Syrian refugees from that war. And now maybe 1.2 million internally displaced. And this is a country that is only about a little less than 4 million people. It's a huge burden internally. The stresses that it takes on community, that it places on communities, is really quite significant. And to ask a government that has minimal legitimacy, and I mean minimal legitimacy because it has legitimacy in some quarters, but not in others, to take actions, which is what the Israelis and the Americans are asking them to do, that can only exacerbate internal tensions more is really dangerous. Telling them that you will be in charge of making sure Hezbollah is disarmed in Greater Beirut. You will police the South. You will do this. You will do that without an internal agreement. Lebanese left on their own to do an internal agreement is really quite dangerous. And yet the Lebanese are in this box. You know, they're being ordered by the U.S. and Israel to do one thing. They're facing pressures internally to do quite another. And they understand the limits of their legitimacy. Given that, the U.S. complicity in this is something really quite real. And Rashida Tlaib has legislation that has gotten a surprising number of co-sponsors to limit U.S. Involvement, to say that there's a War Powers Act that has to be implemented because the U.S. is not just supplying weaponry, but it's also supplying intelligence and using political resources to facilitate this Israeli assault. Even though Donald Trump has said he wants a ceasefire, as I've said before, I mean, Israel's definition of ceasefire is you cease and we fire. And that is kind of where we are today with there is a quote unquote ceasefire, meaning Israel would not invade Beirut, but they're still bombing in the southern suburbs, they're bombing in the south, and they're still demolishing homes and operating rather freely in the south.
And what do you think Israel's let me step back, because the conversation in the American media is always about Hezbollah, but just like with the Palestinians, it's always about Hamas. But
Mhm.
Israel's attacks into Lebanon predate Hezbollah, I think, by quite a long time. So if from a macro historical perspective, why is it that this one country, Israel, always seems to be invading into its northern neighbor, Lebanon?
Well, let's be clear. When conflict began in uh, Israel and the south of Lebanon, it was over Palestinians. It was over the PLO, but before then, it was about refugees. When the refugees were ordered to flee, yes, they were ordered to flee. And no, it wasn't Arabs that told them to flee. It was Israeli militias and the army that forced them. Many tried to go back. And when they tried to go back, they were shot dead at the border. There's plenty of despite Israel's denials, that happened. In the end, when the border was sealed and people stopped trying to go back, you ended up with hundreds of thousands of Palestinians in Lebanon, concentrated in refugee camps, but some scattered in other places. There were the quote unquote absent present families of Palestinians who'd lived in Lebanon and had been part of the Lebanese social fabric, but hadn't been counted in the Lebanese census. And so we're still, the line got drawn arbitrarily where it got drawn. They were settled in other communities and were part of those communities. Nevertheless, there was a sense of grievance. And yes, the PLO emerged at one point and began to try to fight to return. And yes, Israel then responded massively retaliating. One of the, I remember before um, the full invasion of Lebanon, massive incursion in 76, again in 78, and they remained in some villages. Dearborn, Michigan, um, is largely populated in the beginning by two villages in South Lebanon who'd been evacuated in the 70s when they fled Thibnin and Bint Jbeil, and they went to Dearborn. Um, and finally in 82, Israel marched all the way up to Beirut. When they left, they stayed in this belt in the south of the Litani. They set up a Christian militia to govern the place and with Israeli cooperation. I was at a dinner at the Knesset that Vice President Gore, I was working with him back in the 90s, and he invited me to come on a trip with him. He was meeting the Palestinians, but first he met with the Israelis, and there was a dinner at the Knesset, and he wanted me to join him. I was the only Arab at the thing, and he sat me down at a table with the general they called Fuad. He was a part of the Labor Party.
Oh yeah,
Ben is
Ben
there, I
Elliott.
think.
Sorry. Yeah, yeah,
And he
yeah. I think
sat next to
Iraqi
me.
originally.
Yeah, he sat next to me and he said, "Should we speak in your language?" I said, "We are speaking in my language." He said, "No, I mean Arabic." I said, "No, I speak English. Thank you very much." And he said, "You're Lebanese, right?" I said, "Yes." He said, "I was in your country. It's beautiful." I said, "I don't want to talk about this with you. Please stop." So it was actually, I was really quite uncomfortable. And Gore, to his credit, marvelously, he saw that
Mm,
and he got me up and moved me to
mm,
a table sitting. I spent the dinner with Mrs. Rabin,
mm, mm,
which was really quite a delight.
mm,
But I didn't want to talk to Ben Elazar about his
mm,
lovely time in
mm,
Beirut. But yeah, that lasted then for 18 years, um, and Hezbollah with the PLO out, the Shia community in the south, the movement was called the Movement of the Dispossessed. They were dispossessed for two reasons. One is they were dispossessed by the grievance they had with Israel's occupation. They were also dispossessed by the structure of governance in Lebanon that excluded them
mm,
from significant posts where they would get part of this federal budget, the great jobs, etc. That was a Christian Sunni, Maronite actually, Sunni um, deal that the French had made to provide for their access into Lebanon and their control to some extent over Lebanon's relations with the world. And so Hezbollah grew out of those two things, the sense of being screwed in Lebanon, but also the fact that Israel had created this huge burden for them in the south.